So we're going to talk about the current insight on piracy, maritime aggression, and a little bit on how it affects our mariners. Because the world is a crazy place, I'm only going to focus on two crazy regions, which are the Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Guinea. But first, let me tell you who we are. So we are now the second largest private maritime security company in the world. We are Hellenic Cypriot. Our background is from the Hellenic Navy. We are one of the most widely approved companies in our industry in regards to certifications and permissions. And our experience current comes from 180 operations per month in the Indian Ocean and about 20 operations per month in the Gulf of Guinea, West Africa. Those operations average 6 days each. Security is the state of being free from danger or threat, which is very conducive to doing business. Before I start the actual presentation, I'm just going to give you some facts from the IMB. So out of, okay, I'm just going to do it off key here because I can't read that far, getting old. Nigeria is the winner, of course. More incidents happen in Nigeria. The second runner-up is Indonesia, and further down we'll see that the most affected regions are expectedly Africa, Southeast Asia, but unexpectedly, number 3 is the Americas. Not a lot of people know that there is piracy and maritime aggression in that region of the world. If we look at, again, IMB numbers, which I'm not very fond of, but they do show us an indication of what's happening, we see that in 2016, things were pretty calm. But in 2017, and especially in 2018, the numbers of activity rose, and the numbers of seafarers that were affected was on the rise as well. I talked to a lot of people and they tell me, yeah, Dimitris, but it's only tankers that are at risk, and I have bulkers, so I don't want security. Well, actually, the winner for 2018 is the bulker. More bulkers were attacked than any other kind of vessel. And third runner-up is container vessels, and everybody knows that they're very tall and very fast, and they are never attacked by pirates. The top 4 managing countries with incidents in 2018, and I'm glad my country, Greece, is not at the top. First is Singapore, Greece is second, and you can't see Cyprus here, so that's also a good thing, I guess. And this is what interests me more. The IMB officially stated that 48% of all incidents in the Gulf of Guinea go underreported. When the IMB says underreported, it means not reported at all, right? So in 2018 alone, in the Gulf of Guinea, we had 152 incidents, and these are actual attacks, some of which led to hijackings and kidnap and ransom events, etc. The global incident map for the past year, and actually I took this screenshot on the 18th of the month, so it's pretty accurate, shows us this image of the world and maritime aggression around it. If we look at the high-risk area of the Indian Ocean, 41 reported incidents in the last 12 months. I stress the fact reported, which means that IMB is giving us these facts. And out of which 10 were attacks and 1 was a hijacking. The choke point of the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden, commonly known as the Bab al-Mandeb, is where we see most of the action. And it's not just Somali-based piracy, it's also the overspill of the Yemen conflict into the maritime domain and a lot of smuggling activity, weapons, drugs, people, etc. But most importantly, things have changed, and now we have drones or remotely controlled skiffs laden with explosives that target facilities, port facilities. This specific incident was targeting Jizan. The Saudis said that they stopped it, but everybody knows that if a tanker is going to Jizan now, it can only do cargo operations during daylights. Once we have sunset, they ask the vessel to leave and come back the next day. So this causes mayhem, delays, etc., and so forth. The Somali basin is also active. The Sydney was heavily attacked, but it had an armed security team, so it made an escape. And again, this was a container vessel. So the truth about the Indian Ocean region is that Somali-based piracy is dormant, but not extinct. Yemen conflict overspills to the maritime domain, we all know this. Smugglers take opportunity of a state of lawlessness to do their own business, and that's a lot of fun. EU NAVFOR has only 2 vessels now, and they are the only naval force that has a clear mandate for anti-piracy operations. Coalition forces and their warships are focused on different things, terrorism, for example. And conditions on land have not changed They still remain conducive to pirate action group operations. And how does this affect our mariners? The people that in this room that have sailed or have family that's sailing, and of course everybody has colleagues that are sailing, understand very well that it affects them severely. These are not pictures from a movie or something. They're pictures from real life incidents. So we're trying to make a more secure Indian Ocean for our mariners and global trade. Maritime aggression affects more than a quarter of the seafarers that have sought crisis response from Sailor Society. I don't say this, Sailor Society does, and I think they're a trustworthy organization. But all seafarers preparing for a high-risk area journey are affected. It is agreed by the industry and everybody around it that armed security teams have made a humongous difference, and that's why we've seen the numbers of activity in the Indian Ocean fall. While in other regions that we do not operate, like Southeast Asia, they're on the rise. For us, as a PMSC, the pride is in making sure that everybody does their job and gets home safely. And we make some money out of it also, it's nothing special though. But there are a lot of bad apples amongst us, unfortunately, so you have to be very careful on whom you contract. You need to look for quality and reliability. All the previous certificates and standards that I showed you are a sign of quality and reliability. Very much care should be taken in regards to weapons ownerships. The people that come on board your ships should own the weapons. Moving on to the Gulf of Guinea, high-risk area. 140 reported incidents in the last 12 months, 29 attacks, 20 hijackings, and so on. Most of the action is in eastern Nigeria, of course, around the Delta, the Niger Delta region. This is an incident, the Letitia, I don't know if it's 5 or V, but the Letitia, anyway, she was attacked, 3 crew members were taken. The Glarus, very widely publicized event, Swiss flagged bulker, 19 crew, 12 were taken. And this is what one pirate action can do in 48 hours. An amazing slide. They managed to hijack 3 vessels, kidnap 15 crew, 1 crew member was injured, and one of the vessels that was involved in an attack was an LPG tanker that was, at the moment, bunkering. So imagine bullets flying around while the LPG is bunkering. It's crazy. Is there a solution for West Africa? In our opinion, there is. So proper risk evaluation is standard. Good understanding of the operating environment in regards to the risk that the operation is going to face. Realistic risk mitigation measures, working with a legitimate security provider so that you don't have other kinds of trouble. It's not just the pirates, it's also the authorities and whatnot. And building a solid relationship of trust with that security provider so you can work in tandem and figure out the best solution available for you. Nigeria has elections this weekend, and they're repeated on the 9th of March. So we remain to see what's going to happen out of these elections. Generally, Nigeria is very tricky around election time. But piracy and maritime aggression in the Gulf of Guinea is never ending, as we all know. The oil export revenues don't always reach through the federal government the local governments of the oil-producing regions, and that causes humongous conflict. The militias and the crooks are there. Corruption and insecurity is in all West African countries, and there's a lot of poverty. The only opportunity to get out of this poverty, to escape it, is criminality. And this is the general standard that we expect in Nigeria. It's not just ships that need security. So we were lucky enough to be contracted the security for the largest FLNG the world has ever seen. A very unique project. And this one, the FPSO Egina, that we supported the delivery to Nigeria, and of course, its current operating status. The FPSO Egina has been targeted again and again by the Niger Delta Avengers, which are the most active militant group in Nigeria. So they issue threats every single day, targeting the Egina, but we've been protecting it since September at its operating position. Nothing's ever happened. The only reason behind this is because there's adequate security. It's only 110 nautical miles south of Bonny Island in Nigeria, so it's well within reach for an attack. So where does this all leave us? Risk is apparent, and pirates, terrorists, militants, robbers, psychopaths are all out there looking for the right moment, the weak spot, and the opportunity to attack. However, there are ways to successfully mitigate risk, deter threat, and avoid loss. Don't allow your business to become their victim.